Let's continue unpacking, perhaps logistically, what it's going to take to pull off this mass funeral service. Once again, bring in Zukile Kani, who's with the Eastern Cape Community Safety Department. So it's great to have you on the program. Thanks for your time. I'm sure you're also thinking through many of the things that you need to have in place in order to make sure that today go as well as it can, given just how devastating the story is. Perhaps let's begin by just understanding your level of involvement in what's going to unfold today.
Okay, my level of involvement was in terms of the community mobilization as well as the preparations for the funeral itself. We were interdepartmental stakeholders that each and everyone had a role to play, the responsibility to play. I can safely say each and every department, including the Buffalo City Metro, have been able to pull through in terms of what was expected of them. So we are good to go now. There are some few community members that are arriving, and we are trying to also to assess the situation on the way towards the venue itself in terms of safety and security.
Yeah, we've already heard from reports from some of our reporters on the ground that, you know, some families are a bit aggrieved by the level of involvement or lack thereof that they've had in preparations for this mass funeral. Perhaps you can set the record straight. I mean, how involved could some of those families be in a context where you're potentially dealing with 21 of people, of these relatives who are in mourning, or 21 groups, I should say?
Yeah, it was rather a very difficult task, but I think I can safely say we managed to pull through. We need to differentiate between the next of kin and the family, because some of the deceased did not have parents. They were under the guardianship of people that have been formally appointed to do so. But you do have the extended family members that would want to have a role to play in terms of the process itself. So we did manage to deal directly with the next of kins and the immediate parents, where they would have immediate parents. But then also we had the difficult task now when the immediate parents, the next of kin, had to consult with their families, and then they would come up with different ideas or different approaches in terms of the funeral. So we had to manage that aspect itself. We have multiple meetings and engagements with them, wherein eventually we got to where we are today as part of that massive and broad. I must also indicate that the Department of Social Development very much involved in terms of the psychosocial support for those respective families as well as the extended family members.
Yeah, let me apologize to our viewers. It looks like our audio connection to you isn't the best, so perhaps I should end on this question. Typically, when you get to this stage, you know, the stage of laying someone to rest, you would hope for some kind of closure, and part of that involves knowing what led to their death. What are you able to tell us about how far investigations are into that?
At this point in time, I'm not in a position to indicate because we're still waiting for some toxicology reports and also some forensic reports. And I think it would be unfair to tell some other family members and not tell some others because there's still work in progress. So it was decided that as soon as all the information is available, the family members will be consulted on a one-on-one basis and informed of the cause of death.
Last question. We also now understand that families are choosing to lay to rest their children at different times. I imagine the objective from the government is still to provide assistance to each of those families, despite the fact that the actual funeral for the teenagers is happening, as mentioned, at different times, perhaps even at different venues.
Okay. Yes, due to cultural differences and also religious differences, it has been agreed with the families, also on a suggestion by the families, that some of them will be taking their loved one to lay them to rest in terms of their own cultural beliefs as well as their own religious beliefs. So far, only 2 have been laid to rest. Not all of them will be laid to rest today, and also you will understand and appreciate that some come from different backgrounds. I think I must add on that not all the deceased are from Scenery Park, so there will also be various grave sites that will be used. So in order to ensure that coordination and give the families their respect to do according to their cultural beliefs as well as their religious beliefs, it was agreed that it will be so.
Zukile Kani, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. He's the Chief Director for the Eastern Cape's Community Safety Department. There you have it, just a top-down, I guess, take of what logistically we can expect today in terms of this mass funeral service of the 21 young people who died at Scenery Park.